Thank you, Ashley. I'm Archana. I'm going to be guiding your self-healing meditation today. Ready? Close your eyes. Sit with your spine straight. Connect your tongue to the roof of your mouth. Imagine a brilliant waterfall of light flowing through you, entering into your crown, the tip of your head. Let this energy permeate through every cell of your being. And let it come out of the soles of your feet and your palms. To the Supreme God, Divine Father, Mother, to all the healing angels, healing ministers, and the great ones, the beings of light. Thank you for your blessings of healing energy, for compassion, mercy, help, guidance, and protection. With thanks and in full faith. Take long, deep breaths. Inhale gently, hold, exhale, hold. So we'll do that 7 times. Inhale in this brilliant light into your body. Hold your breath. Exhale any stress or anxiety within you. Hold your breath. Inhale the healing energy. Let it permeate into every cell in your body. Hold and exhale any anger or hatred within you. Hold your breath. Inhale. Inhale the light. There is no room for any negativity in your body anymore. Hold your breath. Exhale. Exhale all that negativity that you've ever felt this past 24 hours. Hold your breath. One more time. Inhale deeply. Inhale in all that healing energy that you can take. Hold your breath. Exhale again. Exhale any anxiety, any fear, any pain. Hold your breath. Inhale the healing energy. Hold your breath. Exhale any pain and suffering. Hold your breath. Relax yourself into that healing energy that's flowing through you, into you, and permeating out into this room. Be aware of this body and silently say, I'm not this body. Be aware of your emotions and silently say, I'm not these emotions either. What are you thinking about now? I'm not these thoughts also. They are generated by the mind, and mind is just a subtle instrument of the soul. I'm a spiritual being of divine intelligence, divine light, divine love, and divine power. I'm connected with God, one with God, and one with all. I'm pure consciousness that can permeate into every being, every little space. connected to God, one with God, and one with all. There is only oneness. Separation is an illusion. Feel that pure energy, that pure light that you are, and feel that stillness. Lord God, thank you for your priceless blessings. Thank you for the healing energy. With gratitude, respect, and love, thank you in full faith. Thank you for the oneness. So be it.
Oh, good morning. You are renewed. You just gave yourself self-care. Congratulations on that prayer and meditation time. So when I say good morning, have a full renewal, full body good morning back. Ready? Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Arshana, for that beautiful meditation. She will be leading the pranic healing session that's going on following the service. You can come in and go as you like. It's very powerful. I did it the other day, and it is amazing practice for this self-care Sunday. And pranic means life force. And part of having a renewal of life force is the idea of letting go, which is what our daily word was today. And that's probably my favorite daily word, letting go. It's not the easiest, but it's probably my favorite. And Billy, when I was standing back in the green room and you said that daily word, the sun came out. It just shined in. I couldn't believe it. So we're going to see how much extra splashing that the kids are going to get to do out there, depending on what the weather does. Somebody told me, they said, I'll be there tomorrow, but I don't know how much splashing and sliding I'm going to do, but I'll be there for the self-care part. And some of you may have had a little help coming in today on the Splash Sunday part. But we do this once a year, but the self-care is brand new. So I hope you'll treat yourself today and take advantage of that after the service. It's free, and there's many modalities there and types of healing going on, and you can just go and just be and just show up. It's pretty phenomenal. And there is a letting go required, and there's also an understanding of knowing that it's an inside-out job. Any of these practitioners would tell you that it's an inside-out job. They may be the catalyst, just like if you're meditating with someone, that they may help you be a catalyst to go deeper towards your self-care, but it's really who doing the work? It's you. It's that divinity that is everywhere present doing the work. I've been able to boil it down to a simple mantra for you today, and we're going to be doing this for 3 weeks. We're going to talk about self-care today. I'm going to give you some ideas, and then I'm going to speak again in 2 Sundays. We're going to get more scientific with it. Got like 5 different scientists and doctors whose work I'm pulling from. And then sandwiched in between those 2 talks is the vice president or a vice president of Unity Worldwide, who is going to be speaking here. You've heard her speaking here. Her name's Linda Martella-Whitsitt, and she's over like the prayer practice there at the Village. So you'll be in for a treat for her next week. So now you're ready to hear my mantra, right? Okay, good. The 3-word mantra that you're going to have going on in your head today and as you're doing self-care and sliding on the big slide out there is, it's very simple. Ready? Ready? It's so simple. Fire, yeah. Lather, rinse, repeat. Lather, rinse, repeat. And you're like, how is that spiritual? James has lost it this time. Lather, rinse, repeat. Well, here we are, going on our waves of life, on our journey. Now, some of you might be like, my rubber duck has way bigger waves in life than this. But we're going through our journey, bath hygiene. But over and beyond that, there's something called spiritual hygiene, which I can thank Tyler for making that phrase up because I'd never heard those words before, but spiritual hygiene. And I got to thinking about it. And I got to thinking, where am I in my spiritual hygiene, especially as it relates to self-care? So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best, what would you say you rank as far as this idea of self-care that includes maybe physical hygiene, but also spiritual hygiene? On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say? You don't have to say it out loud. How many of you, not named Alan Campbell, right there, would say that, oh, beyond the shadow of a doubt, you are a 10, you can get no better? I mean, you have just maxed out in that category. It's okay to be a pioneer. Oh, it's different. Yes, Alan says it's different. And actually, maybe your definition of self-care will be different in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I hope it is. On a scale of 1 to 10. So I want to ask about 5 or below. But how many of you would say, well, you know, you've been working hard at this, and you're probably at least a 5. Okay, good, okay. And others of you, well, you're at the right place at the right time right now. Because some people say, well, even this idea of, lather, rinse, repeat in the shower, it's easy, it's no big deal. I mean, anybody can do it. It's not a problem. And enjoy it. Not so fast, grasshopper. Young Jimmy here, growing up, I dreaded taking baths. Some of you may dread the spiritual hygiene part. You're like, oh, I've got to meditate for 20 minutes today. It's horrible. I don't have time for this. I've seen people roll their eyes at me when I say, how about 20 minutes a day meditating? How about starting with that? Okay, how about 2 minutes? Can I have 2 minutes? But doing this, for most people, it's easy. You know where the soap, you're on autopilot. Your subconscious is doing it. You don't even remember. Do you remember the bath you took, presuming that you took a bath? A couple people sitting way by themselves. I don't know. You don't even remember doing it. But for me, I would come up with this like fakery, fakery growing up to try to prove to my parents that I took a shower or a bath. I mean, the water would be running. You would hear it splashing around in there, and I'd splash some on my face and come out wet. I went through all of this trouble. It would have been so much easier just to take the bath. And our spiritual hygiene is that way. Our life would be so much easier if we just did it, and we loved it, and we have a passion for it every single day, using those tools that you learn at Unity. I get a chance as a parent to make baby KK's spiritual adventure fun and something that she hopefully develops a passion for. Because already she's way ahead of the curve as far as enjoying bath time. I mean, she's zen in there. She's like saying, can I just hang out here all day? They think that the spiritual tool has to be so sudsy and so sexy. It's got to be the latest fad thing going on in the world for spirituality that's going to get you there quicker. And so you end up looking more like this. Anybody done this before? If you have too many suds and it goes all over the place. It looks a little bit like Tyler, but I don't think it is. I can hear Robert up in the sound booth saying, careful, man. So what do you think the lather quotient of this? What's the parallelism with the spiritual hygiene? What do you think the lather part would be? Okay, cleansing, okay. Okay. Who said that? Breathing, thank you. Is that Valerie? Yeah, breathing, remembering to breathe is a great start, and breathing properly, because as we talked about recently, most people aren't really breathing properly. They're not thinking about it. They're not conscious of their breathing. But what about the studying? What about adding on the tools? Working on those tools and getting lathered up. Then what would the rinsing part be? Somebody said it over here. It is sort of the letting go, the let go and let God. It's releasing. It's the elimination, which is one of the 12 powers, letting it go. Most of you have done that with maybe an addiction or something that wasn't serving you. You let it go. But then all of a sudden, it happens again. So therefore, it's not enough just to lather and rinse. You got to do what? You got to repeat. And then you got to do it again. And you got to do it again. You got to do it again. You got to repeat it every single day. Some people do I love retreats and things like that. Or, I haven't walked in the hot coals yet. Anybody done that? Went and walked in the hot coals? How was it for you, Jeff? It was great. You just sailed through it, right? Were you paying attention to what you were doing? Were you mindful walking across the coals? Yeah, sure, absolutely. Don Drake told me when he went, I know you've done it like a few times, right? 20, 200? Repeat. Well, so Don Drake told me he did it, but the person that went in front of him actually stepped and got third-degree burns. And that's always what I didn't understand about it. But then I started reading it and understanding it, and I said, oh, people actually do this, but it's in the mind. There is like a mind-cell connection process there. But what happens when they get home from doing the coal walking? Or what happens when you get home from the retreat? For a lot of people, that was a great experience, but not much changes. Because they're not doing lather, rinse, and repeat, and repeat, and repeat. That's why I said the practitioners today will tell you that they're just the catalyst. I mean, they're not actually really doing the work. The God within, the divine, is doing the work if you allow it to happen. If you set your intention and you do just show up and just be and breathe, it's a spiritual process. This discussion really has a lot of scientific background now that they're proving. It has all the way to the ancient text of studying this and studying it that, willpower is not enough. Some people just want to will their way into it and make it happen. But that's just using the brain, and will is important. It's one of the 12 powers that's up here. That's a part of it, but it's never going to be enough to have a full renewal. A full renewal. So self-care that I'm addressing today and what I'm talking about. And some people in the world just kind of roll their eyes at that. I did ask somebody one time, I said, so what is your self-care? We taught this class at SE, self-care, and I was asked, I said, well, what is your self-care? And they just kind of rolled their eyes at me and they said, well, to go get a mani-pedi is there self-care. And I'm not opposed, I probably need one. I'm not opposed to that. But it doesn't stop there. It's got to be saying that whatever tool I'm using, I'm anchoring it in. I'm not just pulling it out when I need it. Kind of like a spare tire, right? When you have a flat, you just go and get that tool and you get the, what's it called? No, lug wrench. Yeah, I've used it. It just escaped me. But I pull that tool out right when I need it. Spiritual tools are something that we're supposed to be anchoring in every day. So when the flat tire happens in life, it's already been anchored in. So it's just, we automatically go there. I mean, it's part of our subconscious now. Just like grabbing the soap and not thinking about it. When the trigger happens, we're just right there in the zone. That keeps us from doing things like what? Getting anxious, getting angry. Or if we do get angry, we can snap out. It can just be a micro moment. We can go back to our divine, because we've used those tools that have become innate in us. We're willing to address the root causes of the stressors to be totally renewed. So Joe Dispenza and other scientists that I'm pulling from talk about it as reprogramming. Reprogramming. Because, like Joe Dispenza said, he said, there's a reason they call TV programming. And commercials and things. Talked about, I was just reading yesterday where he was telling a story about, he said he turns on the TV and there's this commercial. And the man, it says, kind of, you got to look hard to see it there, but it says actor, portrayed by an actor or whatever, to know, okay, this isn't actually happening, but it's being done by an actor. And he pulls up his shirt, and it looks like he has third-degree burns. And they say, shingles. 1 of 3 people will get shingles. And Joe Dispenza says, I've been treating patients for 30 years. I've never seen a shingles case like that one. I mean, so what are they doing? They're freaking you out a little bit. They are grabbing your emotions because they got to get you emotionally involved to buy the product. So then they say that a bunch of different ways. 1 in 3. You may already have it and not know it. So pretty soon you're looking in the mirror and your spouse goes, what are you doing, honey? You look good. You don't need to be doing. No, you're looking for, what, do I have it? And then it goes on, and it finally tells you what to do about it. You may not have it yet, but go ahead and get this pill anyway. So their version of programming you, of lathering and rinsing you and repeating, is then they'll show the commercial again and again and again. So what he talks about, what the scientists talk about, is how our brain waves slow down from beta to alpha. Even in alpha, you become more suggestible. Meaning your analytical mind, you have a conscious mind, subconscious mind, analytical mind. But if they can get it through past your analytical mind, down into that doorway from the conscious to the subconscious mind, then you're more likely to just all of a sudden kind of start feeling like you need it. Even though analytically, you would analyze and say, no, I don't need that. But once you've heard it and they've been able to get it past that analytical mind into the subconscious, then you end up doing some things that you maybe ordinarily wouldn't do. And that is not good self-care. That is not renewal of the mind. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. It says that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. So you've heard this, and the will of God has been thrown around so much. It just gets thrown around. It's a phrase that gets thrown around. The will of God. But I feel like that if you throw it around in an improper way, that's not very healthy. That's not spiritual hygiene. And we see that kind of programming too. Well, I got shingles, but it just must be the will of God. I woke up late, I couldn't make it to work today, but it's probably the will of God. So we do talk about something about human will too, right, and free will. But God's will is this. God's will, discerning the truth, goes beyond facts. Some of you say, well, maybe that's factual that 1 in 3 have shingles. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I haven't studied it, so I couldn't tell you that. But okay, I'll give you that. Say that it's a fact. But is it your truth? Is it your God, divine will? Is it the truth? There's a difference. That's a difference. Here's something that it sits on my desk every day. It's the prayer of faith. It sits on my desk. It's on a card. It has the 12 powers on one side, and it has this prayer of faith by Hannah Moore Cahouse. And the third paragraph says, God is my health. Now, how does that feel? Does that feel like the will of God to you? I think so. What about you, Ken Curtis? Yeah, overcame cancer wholeheartedly. You know it. You know it. It's not just a fact floating around. You know it with your whole body, right? I mean, you know it. It's truth. No programming out there is going to change that now because of the experiences that you had. God is my health. I can't be sick. God is my strength, unfailing quick. God is my all. I know no fear, since God and love and truth are here. So spiritual renewal, spiritual hygiene, renewal, and the renewal of the mind is that paragraph for me. And nobody can change that. I was in Indonesia a few years ago, and we were watching the whirling dervishes. You know those guys? It's really pretty, a lot of colors, and they're dancing and everything. And the person next to me is so into it. They are so awesome. And they're like, so they said Sufism. What is Sufism? And I said, well, I think it's a mystical branch of like Islam. And right before I could even get the word out, Islam, they were freaked out. They were like, what? Islam, terrorist? You know, so their programming, they automatically went to that. And I was like, well, we don't want to go there with this, because actually Islam is a very peaceful, supposed to be, but especially the Sufisms, because they are mystical. They're very mystical. In fact, the main branches, the Orthodox Islam, the lawmakers, they're called, have looked down on them. I mean, they're not truly Islam, because they believe that to be in union with God, it's an inside job. Does that sound a little bit familiar? An inside job. So I'm not, there may be some similarities to unity, but there's also some things that aren't similar to unity. But what was interesting for me was that trigger for that person, because I wanted to say, well, there are things that we practice that Orthodox Christianity doesn't agree with, and that's okay. That's okay. That's not where spiritual renewal comes from, is by this rule or that rule or that rule. It's not where it comes from. It's deeper. It's much, much deeper. Please don't go out and say what Reverend James said, the law is not important. I'm not talking about that. But where do these rules, hey, did you ever hear this phrase? It goes something like, my house, my rules. Ever hear that growing up? Do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, that's a rule of some households. And I get it. I understand you don't want to abide by the rule, everything. But when I was in my upper 20s and I was in a little career transition, and my parents said, don't forget, my house, my rules. And I was like, okay, well, what does that mean as far as curfew goes? But we're taught these rules as children, and not just from parents, but I mean, society, government, all these type of things. And sometimes what it does is it adds on this layer of junk. This layer of junk. So we end up having these layers of like armor on top of us, because we have all this programming, all these beliefs that are piled on top of us. And then somebody triggers us, and we say, see, I knew I needed that armor on me. That's not what this is. That is not self-care. Self-care means that the universe is here to support you. It's here for you. Even though some people's actions don't seem like that, we're not going to give our power away and just armor up our hearts and our minds because of what other people are doing. That's what it's saying. Don't be conformed by the world. Don't be conformed by the world. So, I get really nerdy with this. I'm talking about rewiring, how we can rewire to think differently. And, the scientists have all come up with a cute expression, right? The neurons that fire together, wire together. What's more interesting than metaphysics, Because metaphysics covers what these 3 weeks, what we're talking about. It's metaphysical. In unity, what we mean by metaphysical is over and beyond. It means metaphysical. It means over and beyond the physical. So when you're studying Scripture or you're studying something, it's what's beyond the literal meaning of these words. And the one way to go and understand that is inside out. We meditate. We pray on it. So metaphysics, when we say metaphysical teachings, I've told you this once before, but I want to go just back over it so you can think about it this next 3 weeks. But the 5 basic areas that Charles Fillmore, the founder of Unity, talked about with metaphysics that he felt was vital for teaching it is the 5 branches of knowledge. And included in that is theology, which is the this. It's in the nature of God. And that can be very mystical, right? It's cosmology, the creation of the cosmos, so we say universe. Psychology, which is human nature. It's the study of human nature, but it's also how our brains work and how our brains are wired and how our thoughts. How does a thought and a feeling become a belief? And how do we change that? So there is psychology involved. There's mysticism about mysteries of life, and science. All of this ties in to help us understand the union of God. And we usually do this through Jesus' teachings, our master way shower, as well as other people's teachings that line up with those teachings. So this is a spiritual inner work that has to be done. And it's not just by a set of rules. It does not have to be sudsy to be perfect. And it does not have to be this analytical part where we're always looking for a loophole that it doesn't apply to you. I love this. Gretchen Rubin wrote a book called Better Than Before, and she talks about these loopholes or opportunities to excuse ourselves from good behavior. Because see, some people, self-care, like I wrote in my letter yesterday, self-care sometimes gets masqueraded as self-sabotage. Or really the reverse is better. Self-sabotage gets masqueraded as self-care. Because we have these moments where we're sabotaging the moment, sometimes without even realizing it. Can you think of a situation where you've done that? That it wasn't really the truth of the situation? And anytime we are not operating from the truth, the true will, divine will, then we're giving away our power. And what we want to do is empower ourselves. That's why I like this film festival coming up Thursday. It's about empowering people that have, by and large, been left out of the film industry that I've been in a lot of ways, the Good Old Boy Network. It's about empowering women. But what do we do each and every day that is more, we're trying to, what I call willpowering, I think I made up a word. We're willpowering our way through it as opposed to empowering. Let me give you a quick example. We set up a system to where we try to go every day. When we're coming to Unity, we stop at Cooper Center because it's near. And we go in there and we're able to get a workout in. You know, we're able to do the physical part of the self-care. And, you know, it's not because when we're driving by there, we feel guilty. You know, oh, we got a membership. Oh, we got to turn into the parking lot. Let's guilt and shame ourselves into doing this activity. That's the opposite of empowering. That's the opposite of self-care. And I talked about guilt and shame last week. So we want to empower to have spiritual hygiene. Who are the top 5 people you hang around? Is that empowering? Does it feel empowering to you? Good question. Sometimes we can love people, but we got to let them go, just like the balloon last week that I showed you. Tina Massaro says, when something doesn't feel right in our bodies, it means the story doesn't ring true, that it's probably not love. So it's time to lather, rinse, and repeat. So here are the loopholes. See if any of these have happened to you. These are, again, situations where you excuse yourself from good spiritual hygiene. The moral licensing loophole. We often give ourselves permission to do something bad after we've been good. Yeah. Can you think of anything? Okay. We'll start with, so you've been spiritual, you've been doing this like the rubber ducky, you've been going like that. Everything's going good. Life is kind of smoothing out, and life starts smoothing out. You're trending upward. Things are going well. And then you do this really, what my football coach called boneheaded move. And it's like, why did I do that? Well, it's one thing to say, why did it do that? Let me fix it. Let me ramp up my spiritual hygiene so that doesn't happen again. Let me figure that out. As opposed to just saying, well, I was so good those other months. This week, didn't matter. Well, that week could have been the week that your whole life changed because you make a decision you sure can't turn back. It could be an easier thing. I'll give you an easier example. My diet's been so good this week, I could eat those 5 cupcakes. I've done that. The moral licensing loophole. The next one she says is the tomorrow loophole. We tend to discount bad behavior now because the future offers a fresh start. I'll buckle down the first thing on Monday, right? And maybe by the week it gets started, and things start going, the wave is like this, and you're like, oh, no, Sunday I'll fix it. I'll rinse it on Sunday and all will be good. The lack of control loophole. When we feel powerless, we are more likely to engage in self-defeating behavior. Psychologists, it's the psychology part, call this learned helplessness. Learned helplessness. So that's more programming. It's like, with the news today going on in the world, how can I possibly not go out and get wasted? With all of these good sales going on at Costco, how can I not save myself broke? You ever do that? You go in and everything's on such good sale. How can I not buy that? And you leave. How about this doesn't count loophole? I'm tired. I went out last weekend. I'm too tired to go exercise today. I'm too tired to read something that's going to motivate me today. I'm too tired to do the yoga today or this week. It doesn't count. I'm too tired. Okay? And then this one, the fake self-actualization loophole. And I could spend an hour talking about this one. The fake self-actualization loophole. So some people, spiritual bypassing falls in this. I can spiritually bypass my way around. If I read and memorize some Bible verses, everything's going to be okay. That's the equivalent of the going in and getting a massage and saying, like what billions of advertising says, you go in and get this treatment or this massage and you just put a little balm on it. And then you're going to be all better. So there's no repeating in that. You're missing that step. It's also like a digital detox. Now, how many of you have done that? I like digital detox. I need to do more digital detoxes. It's a good thing to just unplug from all the electronics. Because I was talking to some people, and they would say, I'm detoxing from technology. I'm like, good for you. And they're like, yeah, because I just want to be isolated. I can't stand being around those people anymore. And I'm like, no, not good for you. That's a loophole. It's like, I will unplug, but really I'm just going to go, not really unplug, I'm just going to go binge on Netflix at home. I'm going to isolate myself. That can be a very dangerous activity. Ultimately, self-care consists of habits and actions that leave you feeling restored and nourished. Say that with me. Ultimately, self-care consists of habits and actions that leave you feeling restored and nourished. And to help you remember that, I brought a prop today before we close. And, I remember things through pictures. That's why I do this. And then through props. And if nothing else, you'll remember this today. This is called a dry brush. In the analogy of personal hygiene, you would have levels of people from, say, elementary to doctorate. So elementary would be like Rhonda Jones. I can talk about her. She's not here today, I don't think. Actually, she told me about her son that she goes, I love that baby KK likes baths because my son's grandkids, or my grandkids, he just showers them off in the sink. And that's it. They're done, right? Just showering away. So that would be the equivalent spiritually of, oh, well, I think about it sometimes. I don't, really work that hard at it. So then the next level of it, the advanced level is somebody that really gets in there with their soap and they're lathering up, and then they're out there. So that's sort of the masters. And then you have what we would call the doctorate level. You every day are seeking better self-care so that you can help others, so that you can have that full renewal of the mind. And in the bath analogy, this is called a dry brush. And you know what this will do? This will do something like, it exfoliates. It exfoliates the skin. It can even increase the tightness of the skin. That's why Tyler's 83, but she looks a lot younger. And I love the delay on the video thing. So she laughs 5 seconds later. She introduced this to me. So it improves the lymphatic system. It improves the adrenals. If you do this before you get in. And if you go toward the heart, apparently, and I believe it does, it increases your energy. That's pretty cool, right? That's pretty good. But there's only one problem I have with this. I forget to use it. It's sitting right there by the shower, and I'm just, 5:30 this morning, I walk in, I go right by it. This would have given me more energy. But I forgot to use it. You got to repeat it for it to actually work. So I get out, and I'm like, oh, how could I forget that? I kind of beat myself up, and then I go, no worries, no fears, because I'm going to have bulletproof coffee now to get my energy, right? That is good stuff. I mean, you put grass-fed butter in there, and protein, and collagen, and all these things that I feel pretty good in the brain, right? And so what happened when I go to make this? Well, every time I talk about it on Something Sunday, something happens to reinforce what I'm talking about. So you put it in a little bullet to mix it all up, and I put it in there, and it explodes all over me. On my other white shirt. So I'm like, oh, now I got to go take another shower because I got coffee. I said, now, if coffee works from the outside in, that would be good. But it's probably like today, right? You got to work it from the inside out for it to be effective. And of course, Tyler comes this morning when she gets here to Unity. She says, oh, I see you started splash day early today. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. But I was mindful enough next time. I added past and future tense, that I will not wear a white shirt when I'm doing the bullet. So next week, this is advanced training here. This is doctorate training. Linda Martella-Whitsett. She says, love's magnetizing power attracts me to people and situations that reflect harmony and unity. Well, that sounds good. We all know that with the law of attraction. If we're love, we're going to draw more love to us. But here's where it gets advanced. This is the dry brush of the quote. It also says, so situations that reflect harmony and unity, as well as those that appear to repel harmony and unity. Understanding this is understanding the law of attraction. Something comes into your life this week. You're like, but I've been so loving. I know I have all these loving, my 5 people around me. They're really going. I let go of those that I needed to release, to rinse, to let go. But then what about this person coming into my life? They don't seem like they're about love right now. No, in fact, they're armored up with their own stuff, their own junk that they haven't been able to wash away yet. But see, that's what happens is love is the great neutralizer. Love is the neutralizer. In your relationship, if you really are in love, then things are going to bubble up to the surface that need to be worked. It's going to take a little more scrubbing to do. It might be a coworker. It may be a situation in your life, whatever it is. It's going to take a little bit more work. So dive into this study and meditate on this idea and just see what comes out. Even today in self-care, if you're having a challenge or a healing issue, realize the truth, allow someone to work with you, be a catalyst, and then love and understand this law of attraction, because the rules, you make the rules. Your house, you are the house, and you make the rules. So thank you. Namaste. Thank you very much.